Welcome to this episode of your Breakthrough Podcast, where today we're talking about ADD and how it might actually be your superpower. When I was young, my mom taught me a simple prayer that I didn't realize would shape the entirety of my life. It was to be placed in the path of those who needed help. For years, I thought that meant helping in small, everyday ways. But recently, I came to the deeper realization that that lifelong prayer was the catalyst for every hardship I've ever faced. Each struggle, each loss was shaping me, preparing me to help others in a bigger way. It's been a journey of learning resilience, empathy, and strength, but now I'm here to share those stories to help others find hope in their darkest moments, and to show that even the hardest trials can lead us to our deeper purpose. I'm your host, Caitlin, and I cannot tell you how much it means to me that you are joining me for episode 7 of your Breakthrough Podcast. When I was really little, 3rd grade, my mom sat down a little pill next to my brother and I before we went to school and had us take it. This will help you focus, she said. So I get to school, and that very first day, I felt a little subdued, like my personality was kind of muted. But I was getting my work done, and that felt good. So first time in my life, I got honor roll. And that felt amazing because before I just really did have a hard time paying attention, focusing, getting my work done. And I do remember getting reprimanded a few times as a young kid. And as a little kid, you don't know what you're doing is good or bad. And I just remember having a hard time with school, maybe talking a little more than I should. And so once I got on this little pill, it helped. I wasn't getting in trouble anymore, and I felt like I could focus. I do remember not having an appetite, and I guess I just didn't really feel like myself, but at least I wasn't getting in trouble anymore. So as time went on, I started high school and really got into dance and singing and theater, and I just really felt lit up by all that creative aspect in my life. And being a busy teenager, I kind of forgot to take my medication and kind of blossomed into a personality that I enjoyed. I kind of made this connection in my entrepreneurship life about ADHD and medication and everything that goes into it. I made a post on Threads talking about this, how when I was little, I started taking it. In high school, I kind of stopped taking it. And then as soon as I became an adult, I got a 9-to-5 job that I absolutely hated. I felt like I was in 3rd grade again, not able to complete tasks, having a really difficult time with spreadsheets and like pacing my day. And to my utter dismay, my ex-husband's uncle is who hired me, and after just a few months, I got fired by a family member, and that shattered my confidence. As an adult, to sit down at a job that anyone should be able to do and have no idea how to get through my day and then end up getting fired because of it was a huge blow to my confidence. So I finally go to the doctor, and I'm like, hey, I remember when I was little, I used to be on something that my mom gave me, and he's like, oh, that was Ritalin. Did you have ADHD, ADD? And I'm like, I never even really had much of a conversation about why I was taking it, but it definitely did help me focus. So this time I get put on Adderall, and I felt so relieved as soon as I took that first pill and went to work. All of a sudden, I'm catching up on my tasks. I was supposed to be doing accounts receivable. That was something that I hated to do, but all of a sudden I felt like I could. So a couple years pass in that 9-to-5, and though I still absolutely hated the grind of sitting at a desk, at least I wasn't getting fired. So posting on this thread and seeing the huge reaction from people when I'm talking about my experience with medication, it's because I decided to kind of start experimenting with when I would or wouldn't take it. I decided to launch into a creator role and build an Instagram page. I had issues with my heart and my health, and I was so stressed trying to learn how to make money, especially with all of these issues with focus and hating the 9-to-5, that I decided I was going to take matters into my own hands, and I started investigating how to make money online. I absolutely loved it. I loved connecting with people. I loved building an Instagram page. I was making more money than I had ever made in my life. And when I would take the Adderall, it was for days where I was having to build a digital product or, link computer things together. And I self-admittedly am awful on a computer. I struggle with it still. But I would take the Adderall on those days and I would get through my tasks. I would whip through it. I would produce a digital guide to help my audience with something. And then the next day I would need to sit down and film. I needed to create reels weekly or go live with my audience. And I actually had a day where I went live with my audience on a day that I had taken Adderall, and I got so tongue-tied, I just ended the live in the middle of it. It was so embarrassing. I was speaking, and all of a sudden I got really nervous, and I just hit end and disappeared on my audience. And I started to connect the dots that when I was doing the part that I loved, talking, filming, engaging with my audience, I was feeling really tongue-tied and just like lost for words, and my creativity was really stifled when I would take the Adderall. On days where I had to sit down and do a project, I felt like the Adderall would help, but I started experimenting with it, and I'm no doctor, so this is just my story, and I'm hoping that it can potentially help someone else that might be struggling with a 9-to-5 or creativity or entrepreneurship to maybe take a look at when you're taking your medication and how you're feeling when you're doing different tasks, things that you have to do versus things that you love to do, and maybe start a conversation about that. And I think that's why that thread went so viral. There was people in the comments saying, you shouldn't tell people to experiment with their meds, and that's the last thing I want to do. I just want to open up a conversation to help, because I struggled. I felt dumb. I felt out of place, and I'm not dumb, and I shouldn't feel that way, and nor should you. If you're having issues connecting your creativity with the tasks that you have to do, it could become your superpower to have the medication when you need and then not take it when you don't and get that creativity out and flow. It's just been an incredible experience for me to feel like I'm running on high octane on the days that I have to create. And then I also have that support and help on the days that I have to do the tasks that I really don't enjoy. But that thread went on and on about people sharing their same stories about feeling inadequate in certain roles or feeling like they can absolutely function well when they're doing things that they love. And that just leads me to also like encouraging anyone that has ADD. Maybe you are meant for more. Like maybe you could pursue something that you love and not let the fact that you feel like you have ADD hold you up and that you have squirrel brain. Because I was reading a couple studies that show a large percent of entrepreneurs have ADD. They struggle with it. And I think that it's possibly a coping mechanism. If we don't do well sitting down at a 9-to-5 being bossed around, it can make us feel inadequate. So if you can't even do a 9-to-5 well, how on earth would you pursue your own passions or, start a side gig or start a side hustle that's lucrative? Over the past year building my business, I don't think I would have been able to get to where I am or connect with my audience as deeply had I not discovered this. Just like when I was a little kid, feeling subdued and not myself, trying to film and be on camera when I'm not feeling that way wouldn't connect with my audience. And I think that's why that thread really made me think about how this could help other people. When you're building a brand and like trying to show authenticity, you have to be able to be yourself. And I wasn't able to be myself when I was on Adderall every day. So had I not experimented and discovered this, I don't think I would be here, at least to this level where I am, or have as deep of connection and relationship to my audience and my community, because you have to be yourself. It's another lesson in authenticity and how showing up as you are online is what's going to help you build a personal brand that succeeds and help you feel like you're connected with your audience as well. If I hadn't discovered that, I wouldn't be here, and I'm so grateful that I did. I love to show what is possible online. If you can be yourself, and if medication, experimenting with that can help, there's no better feeling than succeeding. So maybe having ADD is a superpower if you can decide when it's best to take your medication and when it's not. It's kind of amazing that those of us with ADD can think of 100,000 things at once, and while that might feel difficult, in the moment, we've got 100 different tabs open. So if you're in your creative flow, you can pick and choose what you sit down to work on a project with when you do take your medication. And I do feel like I can focus when I'm on my medication. And so I can just pick from my creative brain and my kind of chaotic days what's important to work on the next day, take the medication, and whip through a project. Let me know, what are your thoughts and what are your experiences with ADHD, ADD through your life? How does that come through from your childhood into adulthood? And have you ever tried to experiment with when you do or don't take it? I'd love to hear how ADD has affected you or a loved one in the comments below. And always remember, something that you might feel ails you might actually be your superpower. Thank you for joining me on Your Breakthrough Podcast. Remember, your story has the power to change your life and inspire others. Don't settle for anything less than the good life that's meant for you. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a review so we can keep the momentum going. Keep at it until your journey is your biggest triumph. Until next time.